Welcome, Ohio students and teachers. We are so glad that you have chosen to participate in today's Women in Energy panel. A couple instructions. We would love for you to engage with our panelists. So for those of you on Zoom, if you have questions during their presentation, if you could please post those in the Q&A rather than in the chat. Those will go in the Q&A. If you're on YouTube, those can go directly in the chat. So we would love to hear from you. So if you are live watching, if you could post where you're watching from, we would love to know the schools and communities that you're representing. So while you're doing that, I would like to thank the American Electric Power Foundation. They are our key funding partner for our virtual Careers in Energy program. I would also like to welcome all of our panelists that are participating today. You're going to get to hear from each one of them, but I'm going to introduce them now. We have Marquita Franklin Thomas, Ali Conti, and Renee Donahoe, and they all represent American Electric Power. We have Emily Gerber and Carrie Gaines from One Energy. We have Janet Ragberg from Tri-County Electric Cooperatives. And we have Veronica Hartling from AEP Ohio. So we are so glad that you all are participating with us today and that we get to hear from you. So welcome to Mrs. Pontius's class from Guernsey County. It's good to have you all with us. So let me tell you a little bit about the format of how this is gonna work today. We're going to hear from each panelist. They're going to talk a little bit about what their position is, some of their job responsibilities, their education and training, what it's like to be a woman working in the energy industry. While they are presenting, if you have questions, please ask those questions directly and we will ask them during their presentation. Then after each panelist has had the opportunity to share, we'll have a final Q&A at the very end. So please keep those questions coming. All right, I would like to introduce our first panelist. Marquita Franklin Thomas is from American Electric Power. She is the Director of Learning and Employee Development. So please take it away.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I hope everyone is having an opportunity to enjoy the sunshine and the weather starting to break for us here in Ohio. So just really thrilled about getting out of the house and experiencing a little bit of fresh air after having been inside and indoors and at home for so long. So I just want to introduce myself and talk to you a little bit about the work that I do and my journey at AEP. I am the Director of Learning and Employee Development at AEP. And so that is really a fancy way to say that I and my team are responsible for the training and education and growth of the employees at AEP. I like to say that we get to come to work every day to find ways for our employees to thrive in their careers. So my personal goal is to figure out ways to be innovative, to be future forward and future proofing our workforce so that each employee, no matter what role they're in or where they are in their career, has access to information, has access to tools and learning opportunities so that they can be the very best that they can be every single day. And so I have been in my position as a director for 5 years. I've been with AEP for 26 years. And I will just tell you a little bit about my start, and you'll have the opportunity to hear from one of my early mentors and supporters a little bit later on in the program. But I started 26 years ago in our call center, and I was younger at that time when I started. And I came to AEP because I was looking for a way to support myself and to pay for school. And I had a friend who was from the Central Ohio area. She mentioned to me that if I wanted a job like that, I needed to come to AEP, and she already worked there. And I'm from Steubenville, Ohio. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but that's where I grew up. And Had a great, family and a lot of support. But going to college and careers and things like that, it wasn't discouraged, but it wasn't necessarily something that was encouraged either. So I came to Columbus, not quite sure what I wanted to do. And then when I came to AEP, I started in the call center and things just began to open up for me. So very shortly after being in the call center, I started having opportunities to do one-on-one training with employees. And that just really, I would say, is when the training bug hit me. I fell in love with finding solutions to help people learn how to do their job, to challenge people. So at that time, they would sit right next to me and listen to me take phone calls. And I really wanted to challenge them to be better and to pay attention. And so I started thinking about different ways that I could support and help them. And my career just advanced from that opportunity of taking phone calls and helping other people learn how to take phone calls. And I did various jobs at the call center, all including training, supporting the operations of the training of the call center facility, and then supervising. I went on from there to do process improvement. And I did that for many years. I was an analyst. I was responsible for safety, human performance, and all of those things. My entire career have all had some component of training. And I eventually landed with an opportunity to lead our training organization. And it was primarily for our craft or field employees. And we are responsible, at that time, we were responsible for training people on how to climb towers, build structures, support the substations that you might see that actually are responsible for getting electricity to your house, and for the individuals who are responsible for the controls and the SCADA systems and all of the technology in the ways that we communicate across our grid. So my team was responsible for that type of training. And over the years, that has evolved to now we are responsible for all of that, but we're responsible for transmission and distribution line training. We do safety training, cultural training. We are responsible for onboarding, which is the employees who are new to the company or new to a department, helping them feel comfortable and get integrated into the culture. We're responsible for our college and high school co-op and intern programs. And so those are opportunities that may interest you, but we do have a college cooperative where you can come and work for AEP while you're in school. And if you're in a 4-year program, there's an opportunity for you to have multiple rotations at AEP, eventually landing a job in our engineering department and in some of our other professional departments. And then for our high school students, we have an intern program where you can come and work in the summer and you can learn a variety of different tasks and get exposure to different careers and opportunities at AEP and actually get paid for that. So all of those.
Marquita, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So from YouTube, how did you advocate for yourself in order to progress in your career? Sorry, I might have sounded glitchy. Did you get to hear that?
So how do I advocate for myself?
Yeah, how did you advocate as you have advanced through your career?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I will say that finding my voice early on in my career took a little bit of time. And so that whole idea of advocating, I think comes with confidence, it comes with experience, and it comes with an opportunity to engage with other people who are going to support you through your career journey. So I would say that the advocating for yourself is, first of all, really being in tune with the things that you are good at, the things that you're interested in, having a natural curiosity for the work, and then figuring out what is your direction, what is your vision, where do you want to go, where do you want to take that, and then finding the voice to be confident to speak up and ask for things and not be afraid that because you don't have education or experience, you never want to be afraid to ask for those things that you're curious or interested or want to acquire or obtain.
Thank you so much for sharing. We had one more question that came in from YouTube for you before we go on to the next panelist. The question from YouTube is, are there multiple teams you supervise who specialize in areas of the company to give specific training and development?
Absolutely. So in our group, our technical training department, they supervise and train the line mechanics, so the individuals who are building the structures and the lines and the towers. Also those individuals who are working in the substations and in our protection and control environment. So we have technical training, and we have a very specific group of individuals who focus on that, as well as the professional development and employee development. So those are the two groups that we work with.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing. If you still have questions for Marquita, keep them coming. We will circle back at the end and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions from all of our panelists. So thank you. All right, next is Ali Conti, also from American Electric Power. She is a social media specialist senior. So Ali, we'd love to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting. I do a lot of things digitally as a social media specialist. So especially in this past year when everyone's kind of had to adapt to doing things digitally, I just really want to thank the Ohio Energy Project because it's so amazing that you guys are still doing these tours and open houses and have adapted so well. So I have only been with AEP. It'll be 3 years on Friday, actually, which is for the company. I'm like a relative newbie there, even though it's coming up on 3 years. But everybody, it's a great place to work, and a lot of people stay for a very long time. So what I do is I work in the social media center when we actually work in the office. At the social media center, we have a corporate communications side, which is myself and my two teammates, a manager and a data analyst. And then on the other side, there is a customer care team. So we come at social media from this really cyclical approach of you're doing your brand enhancement, right? So in the same way that you guys probably use social media to tell stories about yourself, I'm telling stories about the company, about the different activities that we do, the way that we participate in our communities, what our employees are up to, everything from safety messaging, right? Because electricity is dangerous. So as an electric supplier and generator, it's our responsibility to communicate safety messages to the public, different volunteer efforts, community efforts, different things. It's really, social media has become a very large pillar of communication for us. Back at the beginning of the pandemic, when we suspended disconnections for non-payment, we actually made that announcement initially on social media, which was huge. It wasn't a press release. It wasn't out on the news. It was something that we put out on social media first. So in the last few years, social media has really become something that even older, more established companies and industries are embracing as a necessary communications tool. So it's very important to us. And the other side of that is I work alongside a team of customer care agents. So there's 6 people on that team, and they're doing something really cool where we know we have to be where our customers are. And a lot of our customers, especially our younger customers, are on social media. So people come to us on Facebook, Twitter, even Instagram or LinkedIn asking about jobs and careers. And we can answer them and respond to them and help them with their accounts right there in those channels. And the really cool thing about being on this team, because we have such diverse backgrounds and such just diverse positions in the company, we're communicating in a proactive way, and we're also talking to our customers in a really empathetic and real way and dealing with them. So I have a lot of fun with my job. It's funny, I came to AEP sort of a like a non-traditional route, I guess. I did the 4-year degree, and I actually was doing social media for horse racing, which is about as different from electric utility as you can get. So I came to AEP. I remember in the interview thinking like, how exciting could this possibly be? And then realizing that I really wanted to be there because the company was doing some really cool, innovative things. And there was a lot to talk about on social media. And that was some of the posts that you guys were just seeing. So we do things, we promote, first of all, our employees who are amazing. Anytime our employees are doing great things, we want to talk about that. We also do a lot to promote different innovative technologies, right? Like you can see we had drones that were doing cooling tower inspections. So that was huge, because it's a really cool new technology, right? To be able to use drones to do something that used to take so much more time and had safety risks associated with it. So we made a quick little video about that, put that out there, talk about things that we're doing with technology, things that our employees are doing. Because our transmission lines span so many miles, we also encounter different wildlife situations. One of the really cool ones that we did last year was some workers came across a huge honeybee colony, and they made a video of the process of safely relocating those honeybees. So those are stories that we want to tell, because it shows sort of like the diverse things that we come up against day to day, as well as the cool things that our employees are doing, and really the culture that's important to us and who we are as a company. We really, want to be seen as part of the community, and for people to see us as a member of the community. And that's how we tell those stories to get that message across.
Allie, we've got a question from YouTube, and the poster wants to know what types of posts get the greatest audiences on social media.
That's a great question. So it really depends on, first of all, it depends on the social media channel, right? Like on LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn because it's where we really get to talk about technology and innovation and our sustainability efforts. Those get fantastic engagement on LinkedIn. The thing that we see being really super successful on Facebook and really everywhere, so safety and the aspiration for zero harm, which is everybody going home every day in the same shape that they came to work or better, everybody being completely as safe as they can be. That's a really big principle for AEP. And it's such a huge part of the culture that it's really something that's top of mind for all employees. So we frequently see these stories of field workers and not just field workers, across the company, of employees who encounter dangerous situations or people who are in trouble day to day, and they go out of their way to help that person, to fix that situation, to make sure that nobody gets hurt, even if it's not directly related to their job. Just a few weeks ago, we posted a story of a line crew that came upon a car that was smoking, and all of a sudden the car caught on fire, and they were able to safely pull the man out of the car, and they very likely saved his life. So we see really great engagement when we're able to highlight the amazing things that our employees do.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. And I think those stories, we don't always hear the stories behind how you all keep electrons flowing so we can have electricity. So it's great to hear some of those stories. So thanks for sharing. So if you've got more questions for Allie, continue to put those in the chat, and we'll get back to her at the end. So our next panelist, also from American Electric Power, is Renee Donahoe. She is the Customer Operations Supervisor at the Groveport Solutions Center here in Central Ohio. So Renee, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me join today. I can pretty much tell, I started with the company back in 1981. I've actually been in the call center since that period of time. I'll be celebrating 40 years actually next month with the company, and I've been in the call center the entire time. I think we all can say that we all have so much passion for AEP. They take such good care of us. And like Marquita said, actually many years ago, she used to report to me, and you can see where she is now. I've seen some pictures on the social media. I have 3 employees that was in those pictures that also had other opportunities with AEP. My goal is always, if you have someone starting in a call center, that's pretty much like your first shoe in. Once you start, you learn, like Marquita said, there's so many training, they have so many tools for you to assist our customers. We handle 11 states. So of course, when you're talking with customers, sometimes they get a little bit irate. We usually handle customers that are moving from one address to another. We also handle customers that are in need of agencies or someone to help them. Pretty much now, since we have the pandemic, our employees are pretty much working at home. The thing to keep in mind is you have to shoot for the stars, whatever your career focus is going to be. As you see the picture there, that's actually one of our workstations, and you can see it's vacant because we're all working from home. We are actually starting to hybrid. I actually go into the office maybe once or twice a week. My goal is, as a supervisor, that I don't want my employees to stay stale in one place. I also call the call center is like the heart of the company. If you have a customer calling, they're not going to call and say, okay, so let me look and see who I can talk to. They're going to call our toll-free number and talk to one of our associates. We have very good associates. Social media, I've seen 3 of my employees there that actually moved forward. So I always encourage my employees to get an education. You need to get an education so that you can move forward on, whatever type of company or whatever that you're looking for. I love AEP. Like I said, they're pretty much my family. Everybody around is my family. And, you see them come, I get kind of short-hearted when I see some of my employees leave, but I feel good about myself that they took that opportunity to go forward within AEP. And I'm hoping someday that Marquita maybe will be a VP, hopefully, I don't know, but let's hope. When she started, when she was like 20 years old, it was really interesting because, when you're young, you think about going out with your friends and everything. So Marquita at one point in time had a little bit of struggle coming into work on time. So she's a Ohio State football fan, that's for sure. But it's amazing what you can do to help not only your employees, but anybody to be successful in what they do. Usually,
hey, Renee,
yes.
Can I ask? We've got a question from YouTube. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
You've talked a lot about seeing women move on to other positions. So Marquita that spoke at the beginning, some of the women that were in the slides that Ali showed. So the question that came from YouTube is, how have you seen women's role change at AEP throughout your career?
I'll tell you, in the past few years, it's gotten a lot better. You see a lot of other opportunities that women are getting, VP jobs or any type of better jobs in the company. So there's been a lot of improvement in the past years. But, we look at culture, we look at diversity. Diversity and culture is a very important part of our company, along with safety. So, I think that the opportunity for women is always there.
And from what I'm hearing you say, the call center would be an excellent place for a high school student to begin. And then if she desired further education, AEP would be involved with helping her achieve that.
That's correct. They have good benefits, and as moving forward to a college or whatever, yes, I would encourage anybody, that's not sure what they want to do yet, but AEP is my passion and always will be. Well, and the people I work with, it's one big family.
Well, I think the young women that come and work for you must be delighted to have you as their supervisor. So thank you for sharing. If you have more questions for Renee, put those in the chat and we'll circle back at the end. Next, we're going to have a tag team between Carrie Gaines and Emily Gerber. They work for One Energy as technicians. So I think we're going to kick it off and start with Carrie is going to go first.
Yep, I'm the lucky one. Hi, Sue. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I have been with One Energy for about 5 years now. I actually started out in the office, and they figured out that I am not a quiet office person, so they kind of kicked me out to the field, which has been fantastic. So I'm one of the many technicians that we have here. Worked in the field for a while. When I first started, we were putting up the 5 turbines that surround our office here in Findlay, which was a really cool time to start. I was kind of a gopher for the teams, but I got to see a little bit of everything. I got to see the civil. They were laying the foundations. They were putting in the roads. I got to see all the electrical. Got to run some equipment. Got to see the towers actually be erected. And it was really nice to be able to see that almost secondhand before taking actual part in it. I learned a lot. From there, I ended up mainly in electrical. That was one that I had a really big interest in. So my job for the past couple projects has been actually trenching in the cables that go from the turbine to the transformer, making all those connections. I spent a lot of time up tower because there are a lot of electrical connections up there too. So that's pretty cool. It's a great view from up there. But from there, I ended up being a team lead. So for a while, I have led the electrical crew and just kind of taken care of their day-to-day, and of course, hopped in the mud and the dirt with them. But here at One Energy, we have been a self-perform crew for a while now, which we're actually really proud of. So my team is just one of a couple. There's electrical, there's erection, and there's civil. And what's really cool is there are big parts of the project, I guess, that not just one team can handle. So we all come together as a group, and you kind of get to get your hands dirty in every single phase of the project, which is really, really nice. So like I said, I've been known to operate a forklift, a bulldozer, an excavator, just kind of do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Carrie. We are going to flip to Emily, and then we're going to come back, and we've got some questions that we'll have you both answer that are coming in from YouTube. So Emily, do you want to share a little bit about your background and what you do at One Energy?
Sure. So my name's Emily. I'm obviously a technician. I've been with One Energy for about 4 years now. Like Carrie, they found out that I was not fit for office work either, so they kind of kicked us both outside in that sense. And then when I first started, we were working on the 3 in Marion. So when I started there, it was jump into civil, and then I jumped in with electrical, and then erection, and then just finishing the project. Shortly after that, they also named me a team lead for the erection crew. So we were basically in charge of making sure every single part of the tower came in, prepping it, everything that needed to be done, hooking it up to the crane or cranes, because some parts need to be flipped and spun, switched around to get stacked properly. So yeah, I was in charge of that. And like Carrie said, we jump into a little bit of everything, get our hands dirty on every aspect of the project to help get it done.
We've got a question for YouTube, and we'll let both of you answer it. What is your training background, or what is your education background that enabled you to you've both become leaders on your different teams? So what's your background, and what type of on-the-job training have you received?
Actually, my background it's probably a little unique. I was actually a bartender right before I came to work here. So, and I just happened to meet the owner and the CEO of One Energy one day, and we chatted, and he's like, "Hey, you want a job?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I sure do. Like, let's try this." So I'd always been around construction in various ways my whole life. My grandpa owned his own company. My dad's always been in construction. So I had a general knowledge, at least of tools and how some things were done. Of course, what we do here is completely different from anything that I'd ever seen, but everything for me has been on the job training.
Great.
Yeah, so kind of like Carrie, I've done construction my whole life too. My dad has his own construction company, remodeling business. So since I could climb a ladder, I've been on roofs, doing everything with my hands. My story's kind of unique also. My brother was a volunteer firefighter for Pitt Township, and they had a train on on a tower we have in Harpster. And he told me about the company. That's how I found it. And I started as an office intern, and they were like, "Nope, don't do that." So, and then I do have a degree in environmental science and occupational health. I did a couple of safety interns on the pipeline, and then came back and found this place. So I went from burying pipe to stacking it 300 feet in the air.
So both of you are in positions that are probably historically not fields where a lot of women have leadership roles. Could you talk about any challenges that you have faced being a woman in a leadership role as a technician?
You want to go first on this one?
Sure. So honestly, the number one thing is, I guess, for being young and a woman, it's kind of double-edged sword in a sense. You're not taken seriously. I've seen most of my complications actually while I was working on the pipeline. It's a men's industry for sure, but if you show you know what you're doing, show confidence, work your tail off, you will get that respect. Any man who's a good man will give you the respect that you deserve and work for. One Energy, it's a family, we don't hire anyone with a bad culture. So I've honestly haven't had a huge problem. Carrie?
See, yeah, I'm the same as Emily. Like she said, we're a big family here. So Emily and I are kind of like one of the guys, in a sense. So there's really no judgment. No, they don't give us a hard time. But sometimes we work with subcontractors, people outside of our company that are very surprised to come in and work with us and see a good handful of women out in the field. So most of them have been cool. Sometimes, like Emily said, they don't want to take you very seriously. They think they know better. But usually once you chat with them a little bit and they see your self-confidence, they see your knowledge and your skill and like, oh, okay, she really does know what she's doing. Then, I mean, it really hasn't been a big deal.
Well, thank you both for sharing. So if you have questions for Carrie and Emily, keep those coming. We'll get back to them at the end. So our next panelist is Janet Rayberg. She is the Vice President of Engineering at Tri-County Electric Cooperative. So welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Sue. And I'm just like all the other panelists, very happy to have this opportunity to talk to you guys. And how I want to walk through today is basically to share with you guys opportunities and challenges throughout my schooling and career path as a female in a male-dominated workforce. So as you all are sitting here today, when I was your age, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after I graduated from high school. And some of you may know exactly what you want to do, and some of you don't have a clue, and that's okay. So all I knew was my dad has always wanted to be an electrical engineer. He grew up in Vietnam, born and raised in Vietnam, and he was pulled into the Vietnam War, drafted to be in the war. So he never had the opportunity to go to school, pursue his dream. He was able to come to the United States, start a family, and he thought, land of opportunity. Now is the time for me to always pursue that electrical engineering degree that I wanted. Well, a couple years into it, financially, it was too hard for my mom to carry on the family. And so he decided to give up his dream in order to support the family. So as I'm trying to choose my career path and not knowing what I wanted to do, I thought, why not pursue my dad's dream? And so that's why I chose to be an electrical engineer. And I went to University of Tulsa. I was one of 3 females in a class of 50 guys. And I get a lot of comments from my male colleagues of, you don't look like an engineer. You should be a nurse, or you should be a makeup artist. For me, when somebody challenges me something like that, it makes me want to pursue that dream even more. So 4 years into schooling, got my bachelor's degree. All 3 females that went through schooling got their degree. 20 out of 50 guys got the degree. So you can tell those 30 other guys dropped out during the 4 years, and all 3 female made it completely as an electrical engineer. So from there, my first job was a design engineer for AEP, similar to a lot of these ladies here. And I was a design engineer. My job was to design the electrical layout to a new subdivision. Well, customers at the time was not used to a female engineer. I was the only female in that group. And when my coworkers would take me out to the field so that we can meet with the customers, they would refer to me as the secretary to my male colleagues. There's been comments throughout where I've heard people say, what a cute little Pokemon she is. So I knew early on that I had to really prove myself in a male-dominated role. And I worked really, really hard to the point that customers, as they got to know me, it's no longer the secretary, but they wanted to know, how am I doing? How's my family doing? They really wanted to get to know me as a person. And so after 2 years in this role, and I worked in Oklahoma at the time, I got a call from AEP Ohio. They said, hey, we heard about you. We think you'd be a good fit for this other position at headquarters in Ohio. And I said, what's the offer? From that call, 3 months later, I moved to Ohio and I started a new career there. At that time, I was a planning engineer. I'm going to be truthful. That was the boringest job ever because my personality, I'm a people person. I had to sit in the office and do modeling and design work to forecast load. But I always ask 2 questions when I enter a new department is, how do I bring value to that department? And what can I learn from the experience? So when I was a design engineer in Oklahoma, I was very siloed in just learning design in one particular area. When I moved to Ohio, I learned the system as a whole, as a planning engineer. So it was a great learning opportunity. After 2 years in that role, another department knew that I love the people aspect. So they said, hey, somebody just put in their 2 weeks notice. You want to come over to our department as a key accounts manager? I was like, dream job. I get to work with customers now, large accounts like your Walmart, your Kroger, your hospitals. And, I get to be their point of contact, solve problems that they have. I get to wine and dine them, take them out to eat, take them to baseball games, football games. So it was kind of a dream job for 2 years. And things always change, right? And so Senate Bill 221 came during, I think it was 2008, that said all investor-owned utility such as AEP, meaning a for-profit company, has to start to implement energy efficiency, renewables, and make the grid smarter. And so at the time they asked me, I just got my MBA, AEP paid for my MBA, my Master's of Business Administration. The new department said, we think you'd be a good fit in this position because we want you to think of this as a business. You're now the business owner. How are you going to run this department from A to Z and implement programs that are just brand new to AEP Ohio? It was exciting. It was great. So I got into there. I got to work with new technology such as smart meters at the time, electric vehicles, work with all these energy efficiency programs that I know with OEP, you guys have learned about, how to save on energy. So I was there for about 5 years until a former coworker recruited me for another company. And they said, hey, what would you think to go into an electric co-op and become the marketing director there? And so an electric co-op still does generate electricity same way as AEP does, but instead of a for-profit, they are now a nonprofit company. So a little bit different of a sector of work. I'm like, wow, going from engineering to marketing, 2 different worlds. But I'm like, why not try that new experience? I do have my MBA. So I shifted to another company as the marketing director. And from there, as you can see the drone picture there, I actually used the drone to capture pictures and videos to make commercials. So we talked, I did commercials, I did ads. So I took technical knowledge and translated into layman's term for normal people not in the industry to understand. So I loved that job for 2 years. And then I got promoted from marketing director with the same company to a business development director, where I also oversaw training and economic development. And being part of that, as you all know, I love communication. Communication is great for females, especially to try to promote yourself, brand yourself, and connect with other people. So in the 5 years that I was with the Electric Cooperative, there's a national organization that oversees 900 electric cooperatives across the United States. And I was their national MC. So I got to MC once a year in really cool places like New Orleans or San Diego, New York City. And I would MC in front of 10,000 people. And one of the company, Tri-County Electric Cooperative in Texas, saw me. And they looked at my background and said, wow, she's an engineer that can talk. So they called me and said, what would you do? How do we get you to move to Texas and become the VP of engineering? Once again, I was like, what's the offer? And so you can see with my career path, you don't have to start with one job and stay in it forever. You can shift. You can move from engineering to marketing to back to engineering. You can go from a for-profit company to a nonprofit company. So I just want you to think in your career path is you're never stuck. If you're unhappy in a situation, there's always opportunity to grow, and there's opportunity to change and do better. Just always remember two things. When you do change jobs, what do I bring value to that company or that position? And what will I learn from that experience? So whether that job is your dream job or a job that's going to take you to that next step, what are you learning from there that's going to make you better?
Thanks, Janet. We've got a question from YouTube. So how did you handle when you were called the secretary or when you were overlooked as the one running the engineering project because you were a woman?
Yeah, so I would casually just say, I would tell them, I would say, well, actually, we do have a secretary in the office that can, get you whatever you need. But my job is I'm going to be your new engineer because my coworker will be stepping out of this role. And I'm here to help you whatever you need. And one thing that I've always done from the very beginning is I'm not afraid to ask questions because that's how you learn. And a lot of male colleagues that I had kind of slight ego. And so a lot of times if they don't understand anything, they just kind of assume. So I ask questions and I follow through. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through and do it. And you think that sounds easy, but that's not necessarily everyone's mentality. And I think women in general are very good with multitasking. And I think that's what women bring into the workforce is because we are used to carrying a family and being able to work at the same time. And a lot of times with male counterparts, they're only used to just working. And so multitasking is something they might not think about or is good at. And so me being able to juggle many things at once for my customer and following through has really proven that I was a valuable asset because they can count and trust on me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Janet. All right, we've got one final panelist. So Veronica Hartling from AEP Ohio. She is the Distribution Dispatching Supervisor. So Veronica, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I have a very different background compared to Janet. Janet, that was amazing background information you gave to everybody. I think that's pretty great and fantastic. I do not have an education background in electrical engineering. Actually, my degree was in English and pre-law and also in video game software design. So while I was going through school, I realized, I'm probably not going to work for a video game company like Blizzard or whatever. And I need to find a company that is pretty stable here in Ohio. And my mom worked at AEP, and she said, I should apply. So I actually applied as a distribution dispatcher and worked here in Groveport for about 4 years. I left for the military, went and worked for AEP Texas as a dispatcher. And then I leveraged my background in software development and found analyst positions doing that kind of work in SCADA and also in work scheduling. And then I ended up moving back to Ohio and taking this opportunity that I'm currently in as a distribution dispatcher supervisor. So I would like to let everybody know that the position I'm in currently, even though I don't utilize my background, my education background specifically for what we do every day, I do use my analytical skills, my logical thinking, even creative design for the job here every day. And, you know, just to give you a brief, quick history or an overview of what we do, you know, putting it in layman's terms, if you're sitting in your house and your lights blink maybe a couple times or maybe for a few minutes and then it comes back on, our dispatch center is probably reviewing that equipment, seeing if it's operating, if it's going to lock out and keep you out of power. And then our energy control dispatchers or trouble dispatchers will determine, okay, I think the fault is cleared. We're going to restore them and put them back on power. They do that all from their desk. In those pictures, as you can see right now, they can do all that from their work desk. If you're out for a little bit longer, we're usually coordinating with field personnel to make the repairs out in the field. You know, those linemen that are climbing the pole, working on the electrical lines. We work in conjunction with them to help restore you quicker, faster, and safely. So that's pretty much the gist of what we do. But just like Janet and everybody else on this panel, we all have a different background. But even though AEP or even just the energy industry, you know, you don't have to specifically be an engineer. You can leverage whatever your background is to be successful. As long as you're motivated and willing to learn new things, I think it's a great industry to be a part of.
Veronica, what would you say would be some skills that our students should focus on as they're thinking about possibly a career in the energy industry?
Some skills I would say, the one that I always like to tell everybody is being creative. With the new smart devices that we're utilizing every day, you know, this new technology is changing, really reshaping the industry. I think being creative, having creative ideas, bringing that to the table, I think that's a very important aspect to working in this industry. Anybody could be, you know, technical, you can have that logical skill set, that's great. But I think you need to have that other side, utilize the other side of the brain, and that'll make you like a well-rounded, a valued employee, for sure.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, we are about out of time, but, and Carrie and Emily, I do have one more question from YouTube for you guys, but I'm gonna give all the panelists here after I ask this question to our wind technicians. So if you could, in 1 or 2 sentences, so pretty concisely, what would you tell young women about working in the energy industry, about what are the, why they should do it, what they should think about? So I'll give you a moment to think about that while we go to Carrie and Emily real quick. So Shajan Grace asks, how do you personally feel after finishing project and seeing the wind turbines that you made by your own hands?
Dude, it's amazing.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
And actually, I think Emily and I have been very well known to do a little happy dance out in the field once we see that turbine spinning.
Yep,
it's just
times.
a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And you think, I did that. I helped, you know, I'm helping the community. I'm helping go green. Like, it's an amazing feeling.
Mm-hmm. It's even better to tell people what we do and then point and look.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to go back through the same order. So ladies, if you, again, since we're running long on time, if you could keep your answer to concise about what you would tell young women interested in working in the energy industry. So Marquita, can we go back up to you?
Yes. So I would say if you're interested, nurture your interest. Do not give up. Do not feel like because math might not be your thing, or STEM or engineering might not be your thing, that energy is not going to be a career path for you. As you've heard from our panelists, different backgrounds, there is a job to suit so many interests here in energy, whether it be finance, accounting, training, learning and development, or customer service. There are going to be opportunities for you to make a difference in a industry that is critically important to so many people. So don't give up on it if you're interested.
Fantastic. Thank you. Allie, would you chime in?
So I would say that right now is a great time to be involved in this industry because is so much value placed on diversity and innovative ideas and bringing more people to the table. There's a ton of opportunity. And I would also say, and it's something that I think I struggled with up until like probably the last couple of years, is don't be afraid to self-promote yourself and ask questions and ask for things and push for the things that you want. Know your value, and never stop learning.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic feedback. All right, Renee.
I would really just say there's always a place in the company for a woman. No matter what area it is, there's always a place. It's just you have to focus, be successful, and shoot for what you want. And I think you would really get it if the industry, even though I'm pretty much on the call center side, but I've learned so much from the other areas, because if we did, shadowing people in other parts of the company is very interesting. So I would say, honestly, I told you I've been here for 40 years. So the electric industry, we know, will never go away. So that's what I would do.
All right. Thank you. Emily.
Honestly, stand in your truth, find what you want, and work your tail off to get there. Don't let anyone doubt you. And if they do, just prove them wrong. Do what you want, own it, and work hard.
Those are good words for life in general. Carrie, you're up next.
Pretty much the same thing. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to show people that you have knowledge, that you have self-confidence. Don't let people push you around or make you doubt yourself at all. I made that mistake a little bit early in, and I learned from it, and good experiences. But just be strong, be you. Go out there and get it.
All right, thank you. All right, Janet.
Yeah, just reiterating what Carrie and Allie was talking about is, the self-promotion is great, but don't be afraid to take on new challenges or opportunities. Women tend to kind of hold back on if they don't get all the check boxes on certain jobs. Don't be afraid of that, and seek mentors, both men and women, throughout your entire career.
Thank you, Janet. All right, Veronica.
I would say go for it. You will learn so much in such a unique field. It will definitely build up your personal portfolio. The work is challenging, it's evolving, and at times it can be very creative. It touches different aspects of work, and it will keep you interested and engaged.
Thank you. Well, I would like to thank all of our panelists for participating today. It was so fun to engage with you, and I know that you have sparked curiosity about women working in the energy industry. So thank you for being fantastic leaders in all of your different fields. We'd also like to thank all the participating students and teachers on Zoom and YouTube. The recording for this will be available on YouTube shortly after we wrap up. And we do have some upcoming trips on, we've heard a lot about AEP and AEP Ohio, and on April 19th, we're going to be doing a resume building, interview skills, and the construction and skilled trades test. And that will be on April 19th at 1 o'clock. And then our final virtual field trip of the year will be on utility tree trimming. And that is Wednesday, April 28th at 1 p.m. So you can find all that information on Ohio Energy Project's website at ohioenergy.org. So thank you so much for participating today. Thank you again to all of our panelists. Have a great afternoon.